up, everybody? Another edition of 11 Live. Happy Tuesday night. I'm Ian Gilmour. So a 1-0 loss for our men's team this past weekend out in California against Orange County. Another performance dominated statistically and possession-wise. It's coming. Just believe. Have belief. Back home this Saturday against Monterey Bay before a very busy week that includes an Open Cup game away at Columbus Crew. So that should be fun. We'll have coverage. We have a team of content creators, producers going down. So you should see a lot of fun content, and hopefully the product on the field will be awesome as well. But this week we're going to go a little bit differently. We have some exciting news because tomorrow we are officially dropping our full W League roster as of what it is right now. So tonight you're going to get a sneak peek at it. The names we can show you, the names that are confirmed to come back, some new ones, some familiar ones. And we have a head coach of our W League team, Paul Dolinsky, on to talk all that with us. So, Paulie, thanks for coming on tonight. What a season it was last year. Obviously, we talked a couple months ago. And also, congrats on being the first repeat appearance maker on 11 Live. This is the second time we've had you on. So, congrats on that. But, last year is in the rear view now. What can you take from everything you and the team learned last year and kind of apply it to this upcoming season?
I think number one, from a repeat perspective, we got to go one game at a time. What's been released recently is a new playoff structure, and there's no leeway on hoping for a potential wild card. So we got to go out and give it our very best to win the division again. And then since we're talking about rosters, I think the one thing that we took in consideration when building this roster is to make sure that we don't just have a full platoon of players for the regular season, but assuming all goes well and we make the playoffs, that we are able to go into the playoffs with that at least as close to a full platoon of players into the postseason.
So, have that in mind. You guys will see a lot of names today and a lot of names that you might be familiar with and some new ones as well. You did mention, Paulie, that the conference, it's a new one this season. We won't be playing all those Michigan teams. We'll play in the Valley Division this year instead. A couple of familiar faces, a couple of returning ones. Lexington SC, Racing Louisville, Kings Hammer, and St. Charles, who plays out of St. Louis. When you kind of saw the division realignments, I guess, what were your first thoughts?
It's weird. It's the nature of the league. No discredit to the teams that we have to play 3 times, but I guess the purist in me would have liked to have kept the home and away type structure, but completely understand that with the growth of the league and the nature of everything, that everybody did the best they could to make the summer as successful as possible for everybody involved. So, and control the controllables and make the best out of what has been presented to us.
You mentioned the new playoff structure as well that was announced yesterday by the W League. As, of course, this league continues to grow, so does the playoff field. So double the amount of teams. We're going from 8 last year, which we were one of, to 16 this year. So more teams in the league, more teams in the playoffs. But I imagine your aim and your mindset as head coach is still go and win that division and leave nothing to chance.
Yeah, I mean, they basically made the bed for us, right? So we could complain and say, well, why don't we get a wild card? Or we could say, well, we have a smaller division and it is what it is. We just got to go win it. So, no, look, we were able to win the division last year. So I think that's the thought, regardless of what options are presented. We just want to go win the division again this year.
Yeah. Well, these are some of the players you're going to try to do it with. We'll move up the field as we go. So we'll start in the back with the keepers. Obviously, big shoes to fill with Mackenzie Wood off at the Chicago Red Stars right now. Sarah Kyle, Nona Reason, and I know you've got one more in the works, but what are you expecting that goalkeeper room to sort of look like?
No, I mean, I think Nona played with us a little bit last year. Obviously, most recently called into the last U20 World Cup, U20 national team camp. Sarah Kyle is a young lady from the community, Noblesville High School, played at Indiana Fire in the ECNL, who we are very familiar with. So obviously very confident with both girls coming back into the team this year.
And we'll move right along. Right in front of them, those who will make up the back line. You had a very strong defense last season, a group that changed kind of as it went, some returners. What do you expect from those along the back line this season?
No, I think the one thing, going back to what we learned about last year, I think versatility is massive. And I think the 7 names you see there give us the ability to play in a back 4 or back 3 on any given day. And very excited. We're adding some veteran leadership with a former NWSL player. We've got, again, girls that are looking to play at the next level beyond college. So very, very happy with the 7 defenders that we have so far.
For those that watch Tactical Tuesday, of course, you would have seen Paulie talk this morning about his tactics and what he likes to do in the 3-4-3. So, that's a little bit of an unconventional formation, Paulie, with that back 3 and, the wing backs that like to, the 2s and 3s that like to bomb up the field. And I know you're big on them getting up and down the pitch for all 90 minutes. So with that in mind, I guess, who do you kind of see being really, really integral to not only maybe wide along the back line, but playing center backs as well?
So I think from this list here, I think Lizzie Sexton, Tegan Jones, and Rafferty Kugler offer that wide ability. We got to know Carson last year, Aaliyah joining us, Nikki and Megan are more naturally center backs. They offer various strengths as to if we were in a back 3, 1 or 2 of them would probably be more naturally as the middle of the back 3. And then a couple others offer the ability to get forward from the outside of a back 3 as well. So it is a very well-balanced group.
Well, wonderful. We'll get to the biggest group now, the midfielders. There's 13 of them here. You'll see them pop up. Some of them kind of, you could classify in another position group, whether they play, a 10, a cam, maybe even venture a little bit farther forward. But a lot of familiar names in this group as well, Paulie. How do you see this group kind of meshing together so that you can be most successful in the midfield?
I think you hit it on the head. Literally just looking at it, not to give too much away, but there's a handful of those girls that could either play wide in a 4-3-3. One can play as a 9 right off the top of my head. And then again, the girls that we're bringing back, we know their versatility within the midfield, and some of the new girls, we've got to see exactly where they best fit once we get trained in May.
Not only that, but some of them, played together in the offseason. Obviously, Addie Chester, Carson Cherry at Louisville, people from the Big East are playing against each other. What is that familiarity, not only playing against each other during their college season, but having, women that played with each other all season next year? What does that kind of bring to your side, you feel?
Yeah, I think apologize for the phone in the background. I think college coaches do their jobs and they have scouting reports based on their opponent. So that familiarity there of Big East opponents, primarily Xavier and Butler, they know what their future teammates' strengths are based on playing against them. So it does coincide very well.
And we'll move on to the final grouping now. And this is, I think, where some people might be jumping off their couches and cheering at a couple of these names because the big ones, I think, to announce are the ones popping up right now. Katie Soderstrom and Maddie Williams are top 2 scorers, not only for us, but 2 of the top scorers in the league, will be back for another season in the Circle City. What were those conversations like to get both of them back, and how excited are you to have your 2 top scorers from last year returning once again?
Well, we'll start with Maddie. I think Maddie, so all are not shocked when it happens. Primarily, Maddie's going to be on staff. Obviously, we know what we get out of her, where she's at in her life and her career. I think she's definitely somebody that, depending on what happens, assuming we qualify for playoffs, if we can have more legs in her towards the end of the year, the better. Katie, as most may already know, was invited into Angel City's preseason. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for her the way that she had hoped. But again, if she can play for us for 3 months and catapult herself over to Europe, that's what we're looking to do. Abby Isger is coming back, and again, she really picked it up. She did us a huge favor early on in the year last year and served some time as an outside back. Really picked it up at the end of the year. She was influential in our win at Detroit City when we played them at their place. Had a fantastic game. So again, bringing her back, and then again, there's some new names on there that again, the nature of the league, you have players that become available on an annual basis, and the good news is due to the success we had last year, it drew attention for some of those new players to reach out to Indy 11 and look to join the squad.
Yeah, well, obviously the last name is familiar, but Katie's younger sister Susie from DePaul on the team. The other thing I wanted to ask you, was there anyone from the open tryout that really caught your eye that made their way onto the roster or was definitely in conversation too?
Yeah, no. So just like last year, we had Maddie Williams, who was found at the open tryout. This year, Madison Hunt was found at the open tryout. And again, it's we had an idea of what we were going to get from Maddie. We didn't know it was going to be to the extent that she was able to provide for us last year. Same thing with Madison Hunt. The open tryouts are great. We were able to catch a glimpse of something. And, once we start training and Madison gets herself involved, we'll see how that grows to fruition.
And I'm sure that's probably the case you never know how the team's going to shape up, right? So I'm sure that'll be the case throughout the season. Well, hey, that is the not the full roster because there are some names in the works as well. So make sure you stay tuned to our socials to see those later. But Paulie, as a full group, what do you think this team can do this upcoming summer?
No, I'm extremely pleased. And again, the goal is to win the division, make it to playoffs. But also it's lots of players with the like mind of playing at the next level. So we're not just here preparing for their college seasons. We're trying to help create and develop future pros. And as it's been discussed now somewhat publicly, I think if that opportunity presents itself here in Indy in the future, then we have we're a step ahead of everybody.
Well, I think it certainly can be said that season 1 was a success. And I know that I speak for a lot of fans when I say that they can't wait to back the girls in blue once more. It's very close now, only a couple of weeks away. So I'm very excited. I'll say that. So thanks for joining us, Paul. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. And have a good one.
You as well. Like I said, only weeks away now from the W League season. We have to wait a little longer to have them come back home until we're at Grand Park. Not at Grand Park until June, but then when we are, the games come thick and fast. So hey, reach out. Let our players know how much you're excited to see them back on the field. That is a roster as of right now. Again, some names will be added in the coming weeks and as we go along in the summer as well. But very excited to be back with the W League team once more. That is it for this edition of 11 Live. We'll be back next week to preview a very, very exciting